Welcome to the Sunday night edition of the PFF Forecast. We are finally back. We are live. The game wasn't much of a game, Dallas and New York. So we're starting a little bit early, get ourselves a nice night's rest heading into Monday and Monday Night Football. It's going to be a great show. We, as usual, are going to guess the Week 2 lines. We're also going to do a little new segment, buy or sell, some of the reactions to Week 1. I've got Brad. I've got Arjun. It's going to be a fantastic show. The first edition of the live Guess the Lines for the 2023 NFL season. Let's rock. All right. We did it. We made it. That was a weird week 1. A very, very weird start. I mean, Thursday night was strange without Travis Kelce. Obviously, we over-dissected that game a bunch. But today was kind of wacky and crazy. You had the Rams as a pretty big underdog, absolutely destroying the Seattle Seahawks. You had Tua eviscerating the Chargers. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, it's amazing that we've made it. The Giants, are they still playing? Do we know? Have they given up? Have they ran off the field yet?
Well, they never started playing, George, but they are on the field still.
Oh man, I was so pumped for that game, and it was crazy because it really did start off, and you were like, oh wow, the Giants like kind of showed up. They like came to play a little bit. And then the field goal got blocked, and everything else was downhill from there. Arjun, you had a rough day today as a member of the Chargers, but I feel like you were prepared for that. You had to know that was kind of coming, right?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it last week that the Chargers Dolphins game was just going to be a game full of swings, and that's just what it was. I think there were 8 lead changes over the course of that game, and with 4 minutes left and Dolphins getting the ball back, I kind of had that feeling that Dolphins were going to go down and score just based on how that game was going. So not a great performance by the Chargers defense from there, but in that game, but we'll move on.
All right, we're going to do a new segment. It is a way for us to get through kind of the reactions to the week without blabbering on so that we can get to the best segment of the week, which is guessing the next week's lines. And we've got a contest that we had nearly 100 people get involved in this week, which was awesome. So we've incorporated the members of the printing press, the Discord. If you have not joined and you are new and you're hanging out with us, make sure you go and get involved there so that you can be a part of guessing the lines yourself. We'll actually show what the members of the printing press who submitted their guesses, what they have, and compare that to us 3 and, of course, the actual market. And, of course, we'll bet the lines that we like early. So here's how this works. We're going to kind of go around. We're going to bring up a particular angle that we are potentially buying, and the others are going to decide whether we are buying or selling that concept. We're going to start with you, Arjun. What is your big takeaway from this week?
Yeah, so I know the podcast in general has been high on the Browns since really the offseason started, but I thought this was a pretty dominant performance by them, beating the Bengals by 21. Joe Burrow just on Thursday agreed to the largest or the most expensive contract in NFL history, signing for $55 million a year, and he didn't even eclipse 100 yards through the air. Now, I understand. I was watching that entire game. A lot of rain, weather was a pretty big factor in that, but I did think the Browns offense was way more effective, and I thought they were doing a better job of scheming players open and also playing towards the conditions. And this was honestly the first game I think I've ever watched with the Bengals that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase Chase / T. Higgins did not connect on a go ball. I think they threw about like 5 or 6 of them. Denzel Ward was there. Grant Delpit was there. They did a tremendous job in coverage. It was a stark contrast to the Browns last year, who ranked dead last in the rate of plays that were perfectly covered. And this, in this game, I felt they were perfectly covering everything, and nothing was easy for the Bengals. Not to mention that, that revamped defensive line, I thought it did a pretty good job at stopping the run. Our initial numbers have them with 18 total pressures, 2 sacks, 6 QB hits, 3 of them from Zadarius Smith, 2 from Myles Garrett. So the guys who were getting paid really showed up, and I thought it was an overall encouraging performance from the defense, which was pretty bad last year. And then on offense, can't really do much with the weather. I thought Deshaun Watson kind of struggled a little bit, especially throwing with the rain. Missed a lot of wide open throws, in my opinion, and I think missed some open reads, but Nick Chubb still is dominant self. And I really like that the Browns incorporated Nick Chubb into their passing game more. I can't tell if it was more of a 1-game sample size because of the rain and they just wanted to get the ball out quick, or if it's actually going to be a part of their offense this year, getting the ball to Nick Chubb more often. But overall, I thought it was a really encouraging performance. Play calling was great, and players, I thought played hard in a pretty big divisional game.
Yeah, I'm buying the Cleveland Browns. I think this is legit. We opened the show making fun of Daniel Jones. The Bengals had a lower success rate on offense than the New York Giants did, and that is with Daniel Jones throwing 2 picks, going 15 to 28, and taking 7 sacks. And yet the Bengals actually had, by about 5 percentage points of their plays, a lower success rate. So you mentioned it, though. Shelby Harris, tackle for loss. Ogbo, sack and tackle for loss. The secondary looked really good, too. Denzel Ward was awesome. And the Bengals, for the first time with Jamar Chase on the field, lost by more than a field goal with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, got blown out. I'm buying the Browns because I was already bought in on the Browns coming into the year.
Okay, I want to make it a clean sweep, but I cannot buy what Deshaun Watson put on the field today. I can't. I have a large sample that tells me that Joe Burrow isn't that bad. I actually now have a pretty large sample that tells me Deshaun Watson is that bad. They're home. To your point, Arjun, there were a lot of pretty open reads. Pre-review, it looks like he's going to end up with around a 60-ish PFF grade. Now, the inclement weather, it was bad. It certainly was. I definitely understand that. But, man, it just did not look good. And the velocity on his passes was not particularly great. So it's not that I'm selling the Browns, because I still think there's value there. Certainly now after this week, that's, beating the Bengals is a big one on them to win this division. I didn't think that the Ravens looked particularly good. The Steelers, I mean, let's be real. That is a complete nightmare, and they play each other next week, and I'm really excited for that line and what that looks like. We'll talk about that in a second, but I can't quite buy them yet, because to me, they won that game not because of Deshaun Watson. They won it because Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense was completely inept. What would that have looked like if they had to score with Burrow and the Bengals? I don't know. So I am not buying that quite yet. Brad, what about you? What's your big takeaway?
Moving on to the next one here. A team that we were definitely not high on, unlike the Cleveland Browns coming into the season. I think it was probably our favorite collective bet. Judah, maybe more so than Arjun. We talked about the Seattle Seahawks against the Los Angeles Rams, and they got boat raced at home. The Los Angeles Rams, I even specifically made fun of Puka Nacua on the show last week. He had a casual 10 catches for 120 yards. So, I mean, I'll eat my words, but are you buying it? Seattle lost both tackles during the game. It's week 1. The Rams always play them well. Are you buying the Rams that maybe we just, didn't give them the respect they deserve, or was this kind of a fluky week 1 result?
Arjun, I'll let you go first. I'm very curious. Yeah. I'm very curious what you think.
Yeah, I'm buying the Rams offense. And I liked – I didn't really – I'll be honest, I didn't watch too much of their defense yet, but holding the Seahawks to 13 points, given that the Seahawks were pretty much fully healthy, is also impressive. But the main thing to me is Stafford just looked like 2021 Stafford. He looked like the Stafford that McVay traded for initially. I mean, him and Tua are probably, had the best QB performances this week. And honestly, I put Stafford on another level just because he's throwing to Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell, while Tua gets to throw to Jalen Waddle and and Tyreek Hill. But I just thought Stafford was on another level today. I mean, some of the throws he was making, 3 big time throws, he's probably going to finish with like an above 89 or 90 PFF passing grade. I thought overall that's a really encouraging performance, especially given how badly the Rams season ended last year. So yeah, I'm definitely buying that. And I think given, seeing Stafford play in that elite way without Cooper Kupp is a very encouraging sign, especially on the road.
I wish I could have found a puka shell necklace to wear on the podcast, because I crapped on the Rams pretty darn hard going into this year. Love the Seahawks. Now, it's a very, very long season. The Seahawks on the offensive and defensive lines were about as pathetic as any team this side of the New York Giants. Like, they have a guard who may finish with a 0 PFF grade. Okay. That is amazing. Kadarius Toney didn't even do that. So the Seahawks really did not show up. Now, I think the Seahawks can rebound, but again, I will buy this because of the same reason that I wasn't going to buy the Browns, which is I thought the quarterback did play really well. Stafford played incredibly well. His average depth of target was 12 yards down the football field. Okay, 12 yards down the football field. He completed 60% of his throws. I mean, he was throwing the ball way down the football field, completing 60%. And that was actually less than it should have been, because I think he had he had 3 drops. So you take those out, he's basically completing like 70% of his throws, throwing them that far down the football field. Guys are running wide open. I think the number one reason I'm buying this is what will be kind of tied into my takeaway. And that is Sean McVay. Like, the fact that he did this team is flat out incredible. And so here's my big takeaway. My big takeaway is that the entire NFL is just trying to catch up with the Shanahan and McVay trees. Okay. The offenses that went out there and put on a performance, you have the Niners, you have the Packers, you have the Rams, and you have the Dolphins. Those offenses were amazing. Was any other offense even remotely good? Like the Cowboys won by 40. And I thought the offense looked horrid. Okay, now the weather was really crappy out there. But, I mean, who are the other teams that were good? Even you look at, I think that the Chargers did some good things offensively, obviously ended up losing that game. But, are we buying that these are the dominant offenses out there? And I think most importantly, are you guys buying Tua? Because what he put on display was out of this world. Here is something that, we have to review. We review every single play, obviously. But Tua is on pace to tie the record for big-time throws in a single game with 9. The other 2, the aforementioned Matt Stafford and Tom Brady, those are the only other 2. And Judah called out in our chat that Daniel Jones had 7 total big-time throws last year. So that should put into perspective. He got $40 million. So I don't know what that means Tua deserves. But are you guys buying the Tua Emmanuel Acho sensation that was today?
It was a great day for Acho. He was already firing off some victory laps. And you know what? He should. I am buying. So you mentioned Tua. We review it. Maybe he won't have 9 big-time throws, but he completed 5 passes that he threw over 20-plus yards, in terms of the targeted depth, which is a record for him. And his starting tackles were Kendall Lamb and Austin Jackson against the Chargers defense that's supposed to have a pass rush with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, but it was not present today. They averaged 8.2 yards per play. They were flat out dominant. I'm buying Miami. Our guy Jalen Phillips kind of helped close the game at the end too. Like, they did enough defensively. Obviously not a great performance from them, but yeah, I'm buying.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Dolphins are definitely a team that when they're fully healthy, they're just so explosive, and that was really the key. I watched that game also. I wasn't a big fan of how the Chargers game plan going into that game. It was kind of just confusing, given that Brandon Staley had the perfect game plan last year, and he kind of went away from that. So I think there is kind of a blueprint there to stopping this offense, but you have to have the right personnel. You have to be able to execute correctly. And that's the thing. I think the Dolphins are just one of those teams that will make you pay if you don't do your job. And that's actually something that we quantified last year. Tua was the number 1 QB in EPA when the defense made a mistake. So when they had broken coverage, he was number 1. versus when there was perfect coverage, he was the worst quarterback in the league. So it's just one of those conundrums that like he's going to take advantage of broken coverage, but if you do your job correctly, he struggled a bit last year. That might change this year with another year in the scheme, but I'm definitely buying. I'm buying it because of how good he looked. And like you said, potentially finishing with more than 8 big time throws in a single game is insane. And I'm someone who's definitely been lower on him, but I got to give props where it's due. And I thought he had a really good game today.
Yeah, I mean, he completed 10 passes last year, and he had 9 big-time throws in the game this year. Like, that's insane.
What about the other teams in that? We talked about the Rams, obviously, already. What I thought was really interesting about the 49ers is that they put on a dominant performance, 0.206 EPA per pass play, which ranked 6th, and had a bottom 5 performance in pass protection, and had a quarterback that made 3 turnover-worthy plays. I mean, I'll cop this. I'm a Niners fan, so I'm going to be a little bit, wary. It was a dominant performance by their defense, and Kenny Pickett looked absolutely awful. I'm not yet totally sold on them. Brandon Ayuk is a complete nightmare. No one can cover him. But I don't know. I worry that we might not be able to get away. I said we. Sound like Eric over here talking about the Chiefs. But I do think the Niners are still in a bit of a precarious position where you're not going to be able to beat a good team with your quarterback making 3 turnover-worthy plays and your pass protection getting absolutely destroyed. Are you guys as worried about that as I am for the Niners?
With you. I think the offensive line coming in was an obvious issue. I mean, yeah, it's also the Steelers' defensive line. TJ Watt had 3 sacks in his return this season. Just continuing on that narrative, though, of the Shanahan tree, Matt LaFleur was in his bag against the – I mean, it's the Bears' defense, but still, they held up incredibly well. I mean, the Bears don't have a pass rush. I think we could line up and probably, help out in the pass rush unit there. But, I mean, like going forward on 4th down, too, where that tree, I think one issue for them is not being aggressive. They scored a 35-yard touchdown on a 4th and 3 with Aaron Jones in the slot. They were Arjun, you mentioned the play earlier where they kind of like Love rolled out to his left and threw back to his right, which kind of a risky play. It was one of those like no yeses. But I mean, no Christian Watson today. A hampered Romeo Doubs had 2 touchdowns, and then the rookies Jaden Reed, Luke Musgrave both had 50 receiving yards. Like it was a masterclass from LaFleur.
Yeah, I think my issue with them is they couldn't really run the ball. They really struggled, especially after Aaron Jones went out. I think AJ Dillon had 13 carries for 19 yards, which, that's not good. And it did seem like Aaron Jones pulled up lame with that hamstring injury on that long touchdown catch. So that's definitely going to be one to monitor going into that Falcons game, because I definitely think there is a drop off between Jones to Dillon, especially in terms of explosiveness and usage in the pass game. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty dominant performance by the Packers passing game. And I thought their defense was also pretty good, but we'll talk about that a little bit later.
All right. We're gonna get to guess some lines here. Before we do, pay a few bills here. It's the season has begun, and that means that you've got to sustain a lot of energy that you need to push through. You got a lot of energy week 1. How much energy do you have come the playoffs? And to do so, I recommend that you get your supplement game right. One of the ways to do that is with Athletic Greens AG1, as it is called. I'm actually traveling tomorrow, be on a plane starting at 7 a.m. Most people would be daunted by that, not me, because I'm going to feel great. I'm going to drink one before I hop on the plane. Won't need to worry about eating some garbage food when I get to my destination. That's the type of nutrition that you can get from AG1, where you can take it with you when you travel. It kind of sets you up for any day that you have, whether you're traveling or you're at home. So highly recommend that you go get yourself some Athletic Greens. AG1, they come with the travel packs, as I mentioned. Very, very convenient because you don't want to be like pouring a bunch of green powder into a bunch of bags before you travel. So go get yourself squared away and ready to rock this season with Athletic Greens. You can find the deal if I can actually scroll to this section of the read. This is incredible podcasting here. Here we go. drinkag1.com/PFF. drinkag1.com/PFF. You get a 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. As I mentioned, the travel packs, they're money. It's just $3 a day. So go get yourself set up and ready to rock. Also, DraftKings. DraftKings is the best way to go bet and take advantage of the great intro offer that they have, which is bet $5 on any NFL game and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. You don't have to wait for the bet to clear. You just make one $5 bet, you get those $200 of bonus bets immediately. You can go place them anywhere that you want. We're about to talk about some bets that we like, and you go take advantage of this offer if you are not yet a DraftKings customer. The best part of the podcast is generally guess the lines. However, we've been giving it a run for its money with the disclaimer for the DraftKings. So here we go. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Rumor has it that Daniel Jones has sent many texts to this number, HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, which may be where Daniel Jones is playing next, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. This is actually also where Daniel Jones may be playing very, very soon. That is in Kansas. 21 plus age, carries by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football for eligibility. I hope you got that. I'm not saying it again. Terms and responsible gaming resources are available there. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Can I get a grade on that read?
82. Good, not great. Yeah.
I thought the eligibility restrictions were pretty good. Okay. The AG one, I kind of stumbled a little bit, but I picked it up. At the end. Okay. We're going to guess some lines here. If you are participating in the contest, awesome. If you are not yet, to do so, go join the Discord. We'll post a link in there. Today I posted it towards the end of the afternoon slate, the 4 p.m. slate, and then it has to be due by the start of quarter 3 of Sunday Night Football. That's when we shut it off. And this year we're going to bring the screen onto your screen so that you can see how we're guessing, what those lines are, and what the printing press is guessing as well. So I will bring this onto the stage now. You can see that my design skills did not go to waste here. And we are going to get rocking and rolling. So the way this works is each of us has set the line before jumping on the podcast. We do so without looking at the lines if they are already posted. We try and do it before they're actually posted. And then we will compare it to the consensus of the market. Sometimes they're not available across all different sports books. So we'll look to do our best to find the ones that are out there that we can actually bet. Okay. So to make this go quickly, we'll kind of go through, we'll say what our lines are. We'll put them in the spreadsheet so that everyone can see them. And then if there are any discrepancies, we'll talk about whether we want to make that a bet or not. Brad, you are up first. Thursday Night Football, Vikings at Eagles.
Eagles minus a touchdown.
Yeah, same. I have Eagles -7.
All right. I was a little worried about the Eagles. I went under a touchdown. I had -6.5. And it looks as though the printing press kind of on my side. They went -6.4 on average. And let's see, what is this actually here? So, wow, it's over a touchdown in most spots. Circa, FanDuel, Pinnacle. In fact, Bookmaker has it at 8, but most spots are at -7.5. So all of us are under that number. I will start. I'm going to bet this. I'm across the key number. Here's my thought in looking at these two performances. Minnesota's performance was not great. I thought it was a little fluky. They should have scored at the end of the half. Tampa Bay had a few pretty decent bounces go their way. Justin Jefferson was uncoverable. And then I looked at Philadelphia, and they couldn't cover the patheticness that is the New England Patriots wide receivers. So I'm not sure they're going to be able to cover Minnesota's wide receivers. I think this is a close enough game that is under a touchdown. I like it. What about you, Brett?
Yeah. I agree with all your points there. Kendrick Bourne is running free. That a bunch of guys in the Patriots running free. For me, it comes back to a conversation we've had a bunch of times, which is interior pressure versus Kirk Cousins. Garrett Bradbury, their center, left the game today. I think it's kind of what derailed their ability to score from there on out. And Jalen Carter had 7 pressures, a sack, and 2 QB hits per our first round of charting on 36 pass rush snaps. I mean, just like the classic, how did this guy fall to the Eagles? But yeah, obviously still a great unit top to bottom. And last year, I mean, when these teams played last year, it was a clear difference in class. I'm not betting it, but I actually am not surprised it's over a touchdown. I get your bet, but I'm not even shocked by that, frankly.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Brad. Like I don't want to bet it, but I do think the Vikings have a good chance of winning this game. Last year, Jalen Hurts, kind of ended the regular season with a negative EPA per play versus the blitz. If there's one thing we know about Brian Flores, he loves the blitz. I haven't got his EPA numbers against the blitz from this past week against Bill Belichick, but I think that might be a part of his game that he hasn't figured out yet, that he hasn't kind of mastered yet. So I think the Vikings defense could hold an advantage even if they don't have the corners to play man coverage against AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. And I think the Eagles were a little bit sluggish today, even though they did cover against the Patriots. They almost let the Patriots backdoor and even win that game. So I think there are some factors that play into the Vikings' favor, especially with Hurts' struggles against the blitz and Justin Jefferson just being better than any corner the Eagles have. But ultimately, I don't feel comfortable enough to bet this one.
Once again, now I should have started off by saying that last year, I don't have the record on me. I tried to tee this up last time. I am the reigning champion here, so I'm putting myself up for dethroning here by immediately putting a bet on the board. But I do like it. I had a feeling I would end up betting this, and so we'll see how it goes. Vegas. Now, we'll talk Vegas. We didn't talk about in any of our takeaways, but could have easily made it. Raiders go to Buffalo to play the Bills. The Bills obviously play tomorrow in New York against the Jets. Brad, start with you.
I had the Bills minus 7.5.
I went Bills minus 8.
I have the Bills minus 8 as well. The printing press made this 7.5. 7.3. And let's see, what is it? Do people buy in? Do the markets buy into Jimmy G? They do not. It looks like this is going to be minus 9.5 in most spots, and actually juiced that way. So significantly less. Okay, it looks like we're all on the Raiders side. Anyone actually game enough to take this? Brad, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm the most off market here, 2 points. Obviously, not the most important of points from 7.5 to 9.5. I'm not, because Jacoby Myers was the best receiver on the Raiders today, and obviously I would assume is not going to play in this game, which I think is a big loss. So I'm not going to, but sheesh, that's a big spread.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We haven't seen the Bills play, so I don't really know if they're going to come out hot like they did last year, or they're not going to come out hot. I think the one big mismatch the Raiders have in this game is Max Crosby. He's going to finish today with probably around 6 pressures. Spencer Brown, the worst offensive lineman for the Bills, absolute privilege at right tackle. Max Crosby should, generate at least like 5 or 6 pressures in that game, potentially get a sack on Josh Allen. And I thought the Raiders fought hard, and to come out with a win in Denver, I thought that was impressive. And, Broncos defensive group only generated 6 pressures. So without Von Miller, that could be another thing that, Bill's not able to generate pressure, give Jimmy time to throw. And, Jimmy finished with like a 0.45 EPA per play, our EPA per play king. So whatever he had in San Francisco, he brought over to Vegas. So yeah, I'm not going to bet this, but I was impressed by what I saw with the Raiders today.
I couldn't wait to bring this up because Miami had the best EPA per pass play. The only other team that was the only team that was more efficient throwing the football than the Las Vegas Raiders, and that included a terrible pick by Jimmy. But you make the point about Jacoby Myers. I also don't know whether Denver is any good or not. I think it's hard to judge whether Denver was actually a decent team or if they just stink, because the Raiders, I don't think, are a particularly great defense. So I'm not going to bet this one. I already am riding with Jimmy G, as everyone knows. So I'm gonna abstain here. All right, Baltimore at Cincinnati, Brad.
Bengals -3.
I also initially had it at -3, but I changed it at the last second to -3.5. And I'll talk about why, but yeah, I'm going Bengals -3.5.
Right. I went -3, and it looks like the press at -1.8. Interesting. It is, I believe this. I feel like this has got to be 3, but let's see. It is 3 in almost every spot. Some right at -110. A few are a little off, but here we go. -3. So Arjun, you're the only one that's differing. Why'd you make it 3.5? And are you going to bet the Bengals?
I will be betting the Bengals. Traditionally, the Ravens defense has given Joe Burrow some problems, similar to the Browns defense. But I watched that Ravens game and I just saw players drop and get injured. The Ravens lost J.K. Dobbins for the season. Marcus Williams tore his pec, so he's going to be out a couple weeks. Tyler Linderbaum and Ronnie Stanley both got hurt. I'm not sure the extent of their injuries. Ronnie Stanley was a knee injury, and this is someone who's had knee problems in the past. Linderbaum and Stanley are the Ravens' 2 best offensive linemen, especially after Ben Powers left in free agency. So they just lost, potentially one of their best players on defense, their best running back, who is a difference maker, I would say, for that offense, and their 2 best offensive linemen. And they're going to be on the road. I know the Bengals looked awful today, but potentially no Marlon Humphrey either. He didn't play today either. And we saw what happened to the Ravens defense the last time they played the Bengals without Marlon Humphrey. So for me, it's more of an injury thing. And also I just think the Bengals will bounce back. Like weather conditions were just adverse to what they like to do on offense, a lot of vertical routes. It's just tough to get that going when it's super rainy, right? So I'm betting on a big Bengals bounce back, and I think the injuries are going to be too much for the Ravens to overcome.
It's a bet for me as well. Even though I'm on the number, I am taking the Bengals here. You mentioned all the injuries, but also the Browns' advantage. You mentioned 18 pressures, all those things. I don't think Odafe Owe, David Ajabo, etc. Matabuike, the guys in the interior. I don't think they're a very good pass rush unit. I mean, for the Ravens in my lifetime, it's probably the worst unit they've had. Obviously, Young can get better, but that was the issue today with Cincinnati, and they're not going to have the same issues. So yeah, it's a bet for me as well.
I'm not going to do it just out of principle. If I was going to do it, I would have made it 3.5, and I didn't. So I'm not going to do it. But I see all those points. I will say this. I had Baltimore in Survivor, made a conscious decision not to take Washington because we thought something crazy could happen in Washington. We thought everyone was going to take Washington. Everyone did take Washington. A lot of crazy shit did happen in Washington. Unfortunately, Josh Dobbs went way under his total, as we talked about, but could not pull out a W. But I was keenly watching the Ravens, and I was not impressed. I did not think that their offense had any sort of identity as it has had in the past. I thought Lamar Jackson looked indecisive. I thought Zay Flowers looked great. OBJ looked pretty good, but it didn't really kind of all gel. So I'm worried about these two teams, but I think it is a traditional Ravens-Bengals game. And without really any clarity on either side, I'm gonna pass on this one. All right, we started off, by the way, with 4 awesome games right off the bat here. We've got Kansas City at Jacksonville. Brad.
Jags +1.
Wow. I went Jags +3.
I initially had it at 3. And then I remembered I watched the Jags game today, and I am making it 3.5. Obviously, I believe that Travis Kelce is going to be back. Let's see. What is this? And by the way, the press made this 3.1. Let me put that in here. All right. This is 3, 2.5. There's some 2.5s out there. FanDuel is at 3. DraftKings heavily juiced. It's basically a 3. Circa's at 2.5 -110. Let's call it. I mean, it's 3, 2.5. I don't know. What do you guys want to call it here? You can get either
So
one.
real quick, I'll just jump in while you're thinking of that. I also thought Travis Kelce was going to play coming into Thursday. It sounded like it was super rosy. The reason why I dropped this down to 1, there was a report during today that they initially thought he had like a broken tibia and that his bone bruise, like the deepest bone bruise they've ever seen yet. I don't know if he does play, so that's why I had it 2.5, and I took it down 1.5 from that because of that tweet from whoever reported that.
Oh my God, you had to wait to tell us that.
Yeah, exactly.
Bradley Scoops. Arjun, Brad came to play here. Brad did
I'm
not
killing for the
want to
crown,
give us
George.
any-
Enough of your bullshit.
He was done with this. He was like, I've heard George pretend that he remembers the record from last year too many times. I am over this garbage. Let's call it 2.5. I'm seeing more 2.5s than 3s, and I'm so inclined. So we'll call it 2.5 here. Man, if I thought there was a better than 50% chance that Travis Kelce was going to play, I would bet this. I'm inclined even to do so without that assurance. Man, Arjun, what are you thinking?
I do want to bet the Chiefs here. It just feels like a classic bounce back spot for Pat and Andy. Like, I mean, the Chiefs and Jags played last year. Chiefs won by 10. And like, I don't know, the Jags always do this. Like, they always have this one stupid play that it's just the dumbest thing every game. It's like a Lawrence interception straight to the defender. This week it was a double fumble 6. Like the Jags will make one big mistake, and then you can't make mistakes against the Chiefs. They'll kind of reverse that with Doug Peterson's fourth down decisions. There was one he went for it on 4th and 2 from Indy's 11 or Indy's 15. So like I think Peterson outclasses Reed in that way in fourth down decisions. But I think this is just a classic bounce back spot. And honestly, I mean the Jags defense was solid today, but I think giving Andy and Pat 10 days to kind of recover, I think they'll come back out hot. And I just don't see the Chiefs falling to 0-2 really.
So it's funny, Arjun, I have the same kind of thought process for why I do like it, in that they did have all those boneheaded plays today, but also in success rate, say the Jaguars are 3rd in the NFL in success rate. The Colts were 23rd. They converted 3 fourths downs, the Colts, I think, maybe 2. Mm-hmm. And so I think it was like the score wasn't really indicative of the actual disparity. My guy Josh Allen had 3 sacks today. We gave out the over 7.75 sacks for the season, so off to a good start there. The Chiefs offensive line just was super underwhelming in that first game. They do have time to recover, all those things. I'm glad you made it 2.5 because it's a teaser leg for me.
I do. I do like that. I'm doing it. I'm Pat. They lost that game because they had some of the worst drops that you will ever see. We know drops are not stable. What is stable is Patrick Mahomes being the absolute best. I thought Mahomes looked as in control of the game as you will see. 10 days to prepare. Obviously, that's baked into the number. What I don't think is quite baked into the number is the fact that they should have won that game against Detroit. Detroit had a ridiculously fluky pick 6. If they win this game, I think it does cross 3. I think Travis Kelce figures it out unless he has a broken tibia. I'm doing it. But it's a great teaser leg. Great teaser leg. Okay, Chargers and Titans. Brad.
Titans plus 2.5.
Yeah, same.
I made this a full 3. I don't know why I made this a full 3 after actually watching the Chargers play football today. But I think the reason that I did was I also watched the Titans play football today. And I think Ryan Tannehill had 4 turnover-worthy plays by my count. Not all of them were actually capitalized on. He is an absolute abomination. It is 3. All right, Brad, Arjun, you're on the opposite side of the key number. You taking it?
I think if you think he had 4 turnover-worthy plays, is that in addition to the 3 interceptions? Because I saw him hit the ball off of Saints players' hands half a dozen times that were not intercepted. He was atrocious, but obviously they covered today. We lost on our Saints -3. I wish it was 2.5. If it was 2.5, I would be taking the Chargers. Like I said, they were first today in success rate by over 5 percentage points against the Dolphins. The Titans were 27th in success rate. If it was 2.5, I'd take it. At 3, I'll probably stay away.
Yeah, I can't. Sorry, go George.
No, all you.
Okay. Yeah, I can't bet this. Like the Chargers just have a much better roster, but I just betting on the Chargers run defense against Derrick Henry, I can't do that. And then I can't bet on the Titans against the Chargers because I don't believe in their roster really. And so the Chargers had a 67% success rate running the ball today. That's the best success rate of any offense in any game going back to 2006. Okay. So they had an amazing day running the ball today, but the Titans have had the best run defense in the league for the past 3 years. One of our favorite bets that we talked about in our group chat was like Jamal Williams under rushing yards, got steamed up from 50.5 to 60.5, closed at like 57.5, went under by like 14 yards, right? And he had like 15, 16 carries. So it's most likely not going to continue that the Chargers are going to be able to run the ball. And I wasn't like super impressed with the passing offense. So yeah, I just, there's not enough angles for me to like betting either side here.
Vrabel v. Staley. I think it leans Vrabel personally.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, this has the makings of a weird Titans win. Just a weird Titans win because every Chargers game is a weird win or a weird loss. So there's no normal there. Green Bay at Atlanta, Brad.
I had Falcons -1.
I went Packers -1.5.
I do here. I had Atlanta by a point. And let's see. The printing press said they were on the other side. They were at basically a pick'em 0.3. Let's see here. Green Bay is this is a pick. We'll call it a FanDuel at -1.5. -1.
I'm saying -1. Packers a lot.
Kings is Packers -1.
Packers -1. Okay. I'll go ahead and start here. I'm not betting this. I think that what Green Bay did today is probably a function of Matt LaFleur being great and the Chicago Bears being bad, despite Brad, I'm sorry to say this, everyone's hopefulness that they were going to be amazing this year. And then I thought what was interesting about Atlanta is I felt like they actually did a lot of what they did last year because they just ignored their playmakers and somehow still won the game. So I think this is a little wonky. I'm staying away.
So Christian Watson, the reason why I made this Falcons side, he was week to week is how he was described coming into this game. I was listening to a doctor on the radio today who does football who's saying, look at his Tuesday, Wednesday practice reporting. If he's not practicing Tuesday, Wednesday, he's probably not playing. If he is, then he's probably going to play. I like the over. I know it's not about the over 41.5. It is going to be a super slow pace of play. Both these teams are going to run the football a ton, but I think Atlanta's not going to get a pressure on Jordan Love, maybe the entire game. And we saw what he can do with time in the pocket. So, yeah, it is going to be a slow game, but I like the over 41.5 a good bit.
Brad, are you saying that because of Green Bay's offensive line?
Yes, they were. I mean, it's the Bears pass rush, but the Falcons pass rush isn't good either. I'm selling all 30-year-old David Onyemata coming off his worst season with a PED suspension and AARP Calais Campbell were like this massive upgrade for the Falcons. I'm selling all of it. Bryce Young made some rookie mistakes today. The Falcons are not good, but anyway, I do like the over 41.5.
Yeah, I'm actually going to bet the Packers here. There were some things I wanted to see from them that I thought I did see. One of them was being able to stop the run, something they haven't been able to do under Matt LaFleur and whatever defensive coordinator he's hired. But today the Bears averaged a negative 0.26 EPA per rush, 35% success rate on the ground. We know the Falcons love to run the ball. Desmond Ridder only threw for 115 yards. At one point, he was 4 for 4 for 0 yards and a touchdown. And this is like super. He had a 3.2 average depth of target against the Panthers. That's like Arthur Smith literally just babied him, held his hand. Bijan Robinson at one point had 5 catches when no one else on the team had more than one. It's a lot of just quick passes. Drake London didn't even have a catch in this game. So the Panthers. I said in the last week's episode, I'm lower on them than I think the general public, and this was kind of the game I was expecting to happen from the Falcons side. But I do want to push back on the Falcons maybe not generating a pressure. I thought the Falcons defensive line did work today. Jarrett Campbell 6 pressures, Calais Campbell 3 pressures, David Onyemata 5 pressures. I think one of the edge, I think it was Caden Ellis at 4. So I think overall it was an encouraging performance by the Falcons. But I just think Green Bay showed more overall. And like you said, given how good their offensive line was and how good Love looked when having time, and I think Aaron Jones will play next week, I will be backing the Packers in this spot.
You've convinced me, actually. I'm totally flipping here. I don't know what I'm going to do with what I actually suggested here, but I'm with you. I am looking at some of the data right now on Desmond Ridder, and that has convinced me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awful. It's so bad. I did not realize how atrociously terrible it was. Bryce Young had that really terrible interception in his own end, which obviously gifted them some points. This is like just such a huge step up in class for the Falcons, right? Between what they face in Carolina, I think it's going to be kind of a shock to the system for them. So I'm going to ride with you. I thought Love looked pretty solid. Like he had no one anywhere near him, but he looked good.
I mean, he was 8 of 10 for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns on third down. Like, he was good. Yeah.
We'll see if he can keep it up. Okay, been looking forward to this game. This has been the game I've been waiting to talk about. It is Seattle at Detroit. Brad, what'd you make this?
I had Lions minus 4.5.
Same.
I made this Lions by 3.5. And the printing press was at minus 3.6. What is this? This is
5.5.
Looks like 5.5. Pinnacle has it at 6, but heavily juiced. This is 5.5. All right. Minus 5.5. Sorry. I'll start here. Look, if the Seahawks, different bird. If the Seahawks are really as bad as they played today, then so be it. I think it's a little bit of an overreaction. The Detroit Lions, Goff made some really nice throws in that game. I don't think they should have won that game. They got that pick 6. It was a little bit lucky. It's tough because I do like the way that the Lions played in that game. I think their defensive line could do some good things against Seattle. I think Seattle's talent is a lot better than it showed up today. I think this is a classic situation of the Seahawks probably not being a team that is ready to cover large spreads. But I do think they are a team that is set up really well not to lose by more than a touchdown as an underdog. So I am going to bet the Seattle Seahawks here. Brad.
Yep, George, we talked about it, that if we knew this was going to be a spot where Seattle was going to catch a bunch of points against Detroit, we agree. We don't think Detroit's performance in week 1, or the results, I should say, is truly indicative of what happened. And the Seahawks actually were still 10th in success rate today. I do want to see their tackles, but regardless, I'm backing Seattle here. We're high on them. This is way too many points.
I'm gonna let you guys bet that. I think I'm gonna lay off this game just because I just can't fathom that Seattle lost to the Rams by 17 today. And I did like a little bit of what I saw from the Lions, especially on defense. I know there were a lot of drops, but I thought Aiden Hutchinson did work. And like Brad said, with the tackle situation, I think that's a big thing if they're missing Abraham Lucas on that right side, which is where Hutch normally lines up. So yeah, I'm gonna lay off this game.
Yeah, he also lined up in the middle, and Damian Lewis was the guy that George alluded to having a 0 grade potentially. So no, yeah, Hutchinson's going to wreak havoc, but I'm going with
it. Arjun, you've got to be willing. That's, as I told Brad, my body is ready for this. I put in the time in the gym this offseason to be able to handle games like this. Okay, this is what we train all offseason for, to be able to take this weight, put it on your shoulders, and roll with it. Now, will it crush me this week? Who knows? We'll find out. Okay, we are onward. Indy and Houston. Game of the week. Brad, would you make this?
I had even.
I went Colts -1.
I made this a pick because points on either side would be me doing too much thinking. And the printing press was with Arjun at 0.9. And the market, did they think about this game harder than I did? They did a little bit. It looks like Houston is 1.5, I guess we'll call it. There's some places at 2. FanDuel's at 1.5. DraftKings is at 1. Let's call it 1, actually, since that's the place you can get even money. Houston by a point. I'm doing nothing with this game. I think you could make a case for Indianapolis here, but I'm not going to.
Arjun, you're the most off. I have no thoughts either.
Yeah, I don't really see an edge betting either side. I guess the thing would be like how much. Well, Anthony Richardson did get hurt late in the game, but it sounded like he'd be fine. And I thought the Texans defense kind of, I thought they did okay on Lamar. I mean, Ravens still put up 25 points, but Lamar didn't really seem to have that good of a game. So maybe the Texans defense is better than we thought. And I don't think the Texans have receivers to take advantage of the Colts' inexperienced corners like the Jags did with Calvin Ridley. So that's another angle. But maybe like the under here, under 40.5. But I don't think I'm going to bet that right now. I still need to do a lot more research into that.
One thing that I learned today is that the C in CJ stands for Coleridge. Stroud.
Coleridge.
And I thought that Coleridge Stroud made some decent throws. I thought that Bobby Slowick did a decent job of orchestrating some open receivers. But I have no idea about any of these teams really. Like Anthony Richardson can do some cool things with his legs. Bobby Slowick can scheme some guys open. Who the hell knows? Both guys are rookies. Chicago and Tampa, the 1-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brad?
I had Tampa minus. Sorry, where did I put that one? Tampa minus 1.5. Sorry.
Did you put it in a different spreadsheet because it was the Bears? There's like a special sheet that's Bears thoughts, and it's just curse words everywhere.
Yeah, expletives all over the page. Yeah.
I went Bucks -3 in this one.
I went Bucks. I couldn't make it a full 3. I made it 2.5. Let's see. The press was at -2. And what is this actually? Tampa Bay by looks like so DraftKings is at 3. FanDuel's at 2.5, but it's juiced a lot. I think this is primarily 3, so we'll call it 3 here.
Yeah, I think it's 3.
So Arjun bet on there. I'm not tempted to bet the Bears here. Are the Bears as bad as they look today? Probably not. Are the Bucks as good as they look today? I certainly don't think so. I don't think they looked that great today. I thought that was more about Minnesota than it really was about Tampa Bay. I will say this: I think it's going to be hard for Chicago to cover Mike Evans. That's not going to change. And if there's no pressure on Baker Mayfield, I do think he will find him just fine. But I'm going to lay off. Brad, what about you?
This might come as a shock to many. I'm doing it. I'm backing the boys. I cannot believe I'm doing it, but I'm doing it. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and do it. The Buccaneers stink. We said it plenty. Bears came out of the game healthy. Yeah, full field goals too many.
Fast forward.
There's no way I regret that pick.
7 days from today, Arjun, will Brad make it to the podcast? He's going to be on. We're going to have to be on watch for Brad next week because he may not show up. Might need a sub.
Has there have we ever had contrasting bets where Brad likes one side, I like another, and we bet opposite sides?
Yeah,
because I actually like the Bucks in this spot, to be honest.
Take them. Take them, bro.
Let's
Why
do
you
it.
asking questions? Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Love averaged a 0.55 EPA per play today. Like it's the Bear secondary is an abomination, and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin should be able to take advantage of that. And I honestly, I don't think Baker looked that bad today. I think he had his moments, but I thought there were some times he made some plays happen. I think the Bucs run game is as bad as I thought it was going to be, but yeah, I think I don't know. I just don't trust. I didn't see enough out of Fields, and I think Bowles is going to have his way with that offensive line with his blitzes and stuff. So, yeah, I'm gonna take the Bucs here.
Love it.
I like it. San Francisco goes technically a road game for San Francisco, but actually a home game because they're traveling to Los Angeles, which we know gets painted red when the 49ers come to town. It is Niners-Rams. Brad, what'd you make this?
I had Rams plus 6.5.
I'm just gonna say this is gonna be a teaser leg for me automatically, but I made this 7.5, or I made this 8.5 Niners.
Ooh, I like it. I went 7, and I feel kind of guilty for not making it 7.5. But Stafford, that's how well Stafford played today. I wanted to make this like 9.5, and Stafford looked amazing today. Shanahan, as we know, he will drive Sean McVay to the stadium. It's a typical father take your son to work day, and he will beat him like a drum. But I couldn't make it more than 7.5. And the printing press made this 6.9, which is very nice. All right. Market has the 49ers as a 7-point favorite. This is pretty consistent across the board. I guess you guys are both on the opposite sides. I'm dead on. So I will abstain here. Let's start with you, Arjun. You are on the Niners side. You're teasing it. Are you interested in actually betting it straight up?
I'm not. I guess I was so impressed with what I saw out of Stafford today that I don't really want to fade a healthy Stafford and a rejuvenated McVay. But like I made this 8.5 because I thought the Niners were just straight out dominant. That defense was so good today. And yeah, I thought Purdy had his moments, not great moments, but the Rams also aren't a team built to take advantage of Colton McKivitz at right tackle unless they line up Aaron Donald as a 5 tech, and which they're not going to do because they need him in the interior. So I made it 8. Yeah, that's why I made it in 8.5. But I have too much respect for Stafford and McVay after their week 1 performance to bet that straight up.
Yeah, so I went under the number here because I thought there would be a lot of that kind of takeaway. Oh, the Rams are actually pretty good. And on DraftKings, it's plus 7, but minus 115 to the Rams side. So maybe it does move off. I kind of doubt it. But all the things you just said. I mean, the Seahawks defensive line was not didn't do anything today. I was less impressed with the Seattle defense than I was with the Seattle offense. The Rams were 5th in success rate today. I mentioned Seattle was 10th. Their offense is actually okay. They just didn't score. Yeah, easy teaser leg. And if it does get to 6.5, I honestly might just take the Niners too.
If it gets 6.5, I will take the Niners. Again, I am concerned about the way the Niners won that game. I thought that was more about Kenny Pickett actually being god awful, and maybe a little bit less about the Niners. Even though, look, Brandon Ayuk, short of Tyreek Hill, the most impressive game by a non-quarterback on offense has to be Brandon Ayuk. The guy torched that secondary. I mean, he was leaving guys in the dust with his route running. He was making contested catches. The dude was absolutely annihilating the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he will finish likely with the second highest PFF grade among wide receivers this week. Giants and Cardinals. Apparently, this game still has to be played. It's an NFL rule, so we will give it a line. Brad,
I've Cardinals plus a field goal.
Wow. I went Giants minus 4.5.
plus a field goal. Holy Jesus! That you watched a lot of that game tonight, huh, Brad?
Yeah, I was locked in.
I made this 4.5, and the way I do this is, which I actually find to be pretty valuable. I guess these lines before the game start, and then I make myself change them based on how well they played in each game. And this helped me here because like I think I initially had this as 6.5. And so I was like, man, like, you know, how much do I want to react to the Giants? I made it 4.5. The printing press had this at 4.7. And the market, is there a line out here for this? There is. FanDuel has this at 4.5. DraftKings has it at 5. Let's call it 4.5, I guess. I guess you could get either one. Let's call it 4.5, since that gives Arjun and I a nice pickup here. But Brad, either way, you were going to be under. Congratulations. You get to be the owner of an Arizona Cardinals ticket. How excited are you about that?
Yeah, I'm pumped. Yeah, even though I'm off here, I'm definitely not betting on the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, maybe I did just watch too much of the Giants and their 1.7 yard per play performance against the Dallas Cowboys. But no, I'm not betting this game.
The Josh Dobbs experience was so incredible. There was like one drive where I think he picked up like 60 yards. So his passing prop was like 210.5, right? We at the end of our Wednesday show, I remember looking at the player props tab in PFF and seeing Josh Dobbs at 210. I thought for sure it was a typo and something was wrong with the feed. It turns out that was actually the line that was out there. And there was one drive where I think he had like 60 yards. I think for the rest of the game, he gained like 40 yards through the air. Like they were not great. It took some Sam Howell, first meaningful start shenanigans for this game to actually be close. So yeah, I think I'll be very interested to see if people totally fade the Giants. I don't think that they will, given what the Cardinals look like today, but maybe I'm wrong. Okay. Jets, and Cowboys, a game that we actually will want to watch. Brad.
Dallas -3.
Same.
Okay, so I have not seen the Jets yet. I cannot make this a full 3. The reason for this is I have seen Aaron Rodgers in Dallas many, many times, and it has often worked out for him just fine. And the press was at -2.1. And the market, I see some 3s, some 3.5s even. We will make this 3. So you guys are dead on. So this is tough. I'm not going to bet because I have not seen the Jets yet. And so, kind of any injuries, but if they come out of that game unscathed, and this is still a full field goal, I will take the Jets here. I just think it will be the better quarterback getting points. The Dallas defensive line was incredible. Like there's no doubt about it. But the Jets, I think, will be much better prepared given their quarterback and the receivers take advantage of it. But I will say this, like we haven't seen them play yet. It could be the fact that the Jets O-line is like just as bad as the Giants and they're not prepared whatsoever. And this is a complete train wreck. So I'm going to pass. You guys are dead on the number. I'm guessing nothing, no bets here.
No. The D-lines are going to dominate this game.
Yeah. What's the total on this?
That's a great question. Real quick, just while you're looking at like the Cowboys held out Tyler Smith, the left guard, the first rounder from last year. He was like a game time decision. They probably feel so good about that decision at this point where you win easily and now he can just wait for Quinnen Williams next week. But yeah, I'm staying away here.
Given the weather. Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm very excited to watch the game tomorrow night. Next up, Washington and Denver. This one is in Denver. Brad.
I had Broncos -3.
Same.
I have the Broncos by 3.5. I may regret that. And press on the other side, they were at -2.5. That's interesting. Okay, so what is this here? Denver. Oh, wow, there's some 4s out there. Wow, it looks like it's 3.5. I thought for sure I was going to be over the number here, but that is not the case. Brad, do you want to pick up that hook?
If the total starts with a 4, I think you take the under. That's my only thought on this game. No, I mean the Commanders look pretty bad. We'll see. I'm not going to make a 1-week determination, but the Cardinals, I mean, is an XFL roster, and they didn't look very good. But yeah, the under is the only thing I'm keeping an eye on, and I'm not even kidding about the 4 joke. If it's 40 or higher, I'll probably take the under.
Yeah, I think we were looking at 40.5 on a couple places. But yeah, we got the full Sam Howell experience. We got like a nice rushing touchdown in the red zone, and then a terrible fumble 6. And that's his biggest problem, honestly, coming out of college is his lack of sack avoidance. And we kind of saw that on display against a pretty bad Cardinals pass rush. But like I said earlier, the Broncos only had 6 pressures against the Raiders offensive line. And even though the Commanders offensive line, it might be even worse. Like, I don't know, like it doesn't scare me as much, but yeah, I don't know if I was Howell pilled after the preseason. I don't know if I saw enough against the Cardinals to make me bet this. And I thought Russ, like, I didn't really watch much of the Raiders Broncos game, but at least by some of the numbers I'm looking at, it seemed like Russ was okay, but they didn't ask him to do too much, like sub 6 ADOT, quick time to throw. So yeah, I think I'm just going to lay off this one.
Denver was
Peyton
actually
had the handcuffs on him, but
they were efficient, to your point. But yeah, it didn't result in any points. And that, I think, is an issue. Like, you played a Raiders team that does not have the most intimidating of defenses. If they go 0-2 to start the year, both games at home, they don't score over 20 points. Like, how many games in a row has this been for the Denver Broncos to not score over 20 points? Like, I don't think that Russell Wilson scored over 20 points for the Broncos yet. Like, this is an interesting spot because I think that the Broncos have a ton of pressure and the Commanders have none, right? They got a win in week 1. They're an underdog. They're traveling. Like, they don't really know any better. No one expects them to do much this year. This is a really interesting place. Like, if the Broncos lose this game, if they are losing in the third quarter, you will start to see some of the palms get sweaty, I think. Sunday Night Football is Miami in New England. Tua versus Mac Jones. Brad?
Patriots plus a field goal.
I went Dolphins minus 3.5.
Ooh, this will be interesting. I went 2.5. And the press was at 3.1. The market is at 2, basically across the board. So Arjun, you are a full 1.5 and over a key number. You rolling with this one?
Of course, yeah. I'm gonna be taking my guy Mike McDaniel and Tua in this matchup. I mean, the Dolphins just looked incredible today. I don't know how much stock I put into this. Tua hasn't lost versus Belichick yet, even though maybe he hasn't played as big of a part in contributing to wins earlier in his career. But I don't know. I just don't think that the Patriots have the horses to play man like they like to do against the Dolphins. Like, you don't want to play man unless you're pressing up. I'm not sure that's something that they want to trust rookie Christian Gonzalez with in his second career NFL regular season game. The Dolphins defense was pretty bad today. I think Fangio defenses do go through a little bit of a adjustment period early in the regular season, but the Patriots offense is nothing to really worry about. Mac Jones did throw for like over 300 yards, and I think he had about like 3 or 4 big time throws, but I think the Dolphins defense will readjust. They were missing 3 starters, the Patriots O-line, and Jalen Phillips, I think, is ascending to be one of the best edge rushers in the game, and I think he should have his way with this Patriots offensive line. So I think there's a lot of matchup advantages for the Dolphins across the board, and considering that Tua, I think, has, again, the QB wins thing, but he has never lost to Belichick, and I think that's something that we will see continue on primetime next week.
Yeah, Mac Jones looked good on throws, 10-plus yards in the first half alone, 5 of 6, 77 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think you get 5 big-time throws actually in that game. I still do lean Dolphins for sure. Yeah, I'll join you, Arjun. Why not?
guys are racking them up. I am just a little concerned because I thought that the Dolphins defense was pretty porous, and I was actually impressed with what the Patriots did, despite the fact that they have no one that you're even remotely scared of. They were kind of running wide open, but I'm going to join you guys here, especially given the fact that the Patriots are not particularly deep in the secondary. I think it's just going to be really, really tough to defend those guys. All right, 2 Monday Night Football games: the New Orleans Saints, Brad's New Orleans Saints, and the Carolina Panthers. Wow, this is going to be a doubleheader here. People are going to have to get through the first game to watch the second one. That's brutal. Or are they doing them dead right after, or are they kind of like overlapping? Do we know?
Check. I got it pulled up here.
7:15.
No, I think they're overlapping.
Yeah.
Thank God. Okay, New Orleans and Carolina, Brad.
I had the Panthers plus 2.5.
I went Saints -3.
Yes, I did that as well. That Carolina Panthers team was not getting enough respect, or not getting that much respect from me to go under 3. And the press was basically dead on it, 2.8. This is 3. Brad, you're the only one that's off market. You doing anything with this?
I'm inclined. I mean, I'm just overreacting and just like remembering Derek Carr stinking. But it's Mike Vrabel, so no, it's an overreaction. But I don't think the Saints are going to get any pressure on Bryce Young. But he looked like a rookie today, so no.
I'm excited for this one. I'm curious where you guys landed here. Cleveland and Pittsburgh. This one is in Pittsburgh, Brad.
Pittsburgh plus 1.5.
I went Steelers plus 2.5.
I went a full 3, full field goal. Press is at 2.3, and the market is with you guys. It looks like they are 1.5, I would say. FanDuel's at 1.5. DraftKings at 1. I think 1 is where most of the even money options are. Yeah, let's call it 1, actually. DraftKings is at 1 even, -110 on both sides, circa as well. FanDuel is at -1.5, -105 for the Browns, -115 for the Steelers. Okay, we'll call it 1. I'm going to bet this. The reason I'm going to bet it is that the Pittsburgh Steelers got dominated up front. I think that the Cleveland Browns can do that as well. I think Myles Garrett has destroyed a Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback in the past. I think he can do it again. Deontay Johnson got banged up in that game. Brad, I don't know what our belief is on whether he can play or not. But I think this is another game where I don't think Deshaun Watson has to be super impressive for them to do well. And I may regret this because like a Mike Tomlin team going 0-2 is, you don't see that happen that often. But I like Cleveland here.
I respect it. I want to join you. I'm not going to, though. I am taking the under 42.5. I love it. I do not think Deontay Johnson plays in this game. It was a hamstring. It looked kind of bad. I wouldn't be surprised he's out for a while. I think both offensive lines are going to get beat at times. DeJuan Jones is probably going to start this game. I think Jack Conklin might be out for the year, the right tackle for the Browns. It sounded pretty bad. And as good as Jones is, obviously this great story, one of the best value picks maybe of the entire draft already because he's, now the starting right tackle. TJ Watt's going to beat him for 2 more sacks and be at 5+ sacks, through 2 weeks. I think both defensive lines dominate the opposing offensive lines, and we see an ugly, ugly football game.
I'm going to bet this. I'm going to be betting the Browns. I was going to take the Steelers as a teaser leg, so I probably have to take off my Niners teaser leg because I don't have a second one to pair it with. I was going to bet Steelers teaser leg, but then I looked at their injuries. Johnson's probably going to miss next week. Okafor, who's the Steelers right tackle, had a concussion. So if he's out, I mean, we're looking at Dan Moore, and I don't even know if they'd move Broderick Jones to the right side, which means it's probably going to be even worse player than him against Myles Garrett, Obo, and Zadarius Smith. The Niners today had 26 pressures among their defense collectively. Second-year guy Drake Jackson had 3 sacks, and so I think the Browns defensive line is better than the Browns, and I really like some of their blitz packages they were sending, and overall the Browns secondary corners, at least, I think are better than the Niners, and I'm not too worried about them stopping the run just because I think of how good their defensive line is. So yeah, I'm going to be taking our Brownies here, and we're going to see a masterclass from them.
If we get Denzel Ward on George Pickens, I think he might set a record for the fewest average yards of separation per route run. Like, I think it'll just be 0. Like, I think him and Denzel Ward will just run the routes together throughout the entire afternoon. It's like
they're going to have the same number of catches as well.
Yeah, probably.
Our Pickett over interceptions prop has a chance to get a few more to the good here. This is going to be a fun week. A lot of really good games here. I think there's like 6 or 7 games that I'm legitimately very excited to watch. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Miami, New England, Jets, Dallas, Niners, Rams, Seahawks, Lions, Chiefs, Jags, Ravens, Bengals, Raiders, Bills, Vikings, and Eagles. So it's a good slate. Hope you enjoyed the new look to the Sunday Night Pod. If you didn't get a chance to enter, we will be sending out individual scorecards to your email. So if you did guess the lines, you'll get what yours were compared to the actual line, how that compared to the rest of the people that played in the contest. We'll share that out and tweet it as well. If we get our what together, maybe we'll do that live on the podcast next week as we go forward. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll write up our favorite picks. You can find those at pff.com early tomorrow morning. It will be up there. It'll be some combination of what you saw here, but we do a little bit of kind of further refinement and figure out which ones that we like the most. And you can get those with a PFF Plus subscription on pff.com and the PFF app. That's it for week 1, fellas. Got one more. I think we have the Jets in our Circa Millions contest, so we will be big Aaron Rodgers fans. If the New York Jets can't win on freaking 9/11, then in Aaron Rodgers' first game, then there's not much hope for them at all. That they need redemption in that building. My God, the Giants fans were leaving at like halftime. That was brutal. I think that place will be rocking tomorrow. That was our podcast. Love you all. Peace.